Finding one's purpose with God can be a strange and mysterious journey, or it can be as plain as asking God for a task and then watching your desire for that task grow within you. Problem is, most of us forget to ask God to fill us with a fervent spirit to serve Him. Then, years later, we wake up and realize we had our life. We made our small choices, our safe choices, and somehow, we miss the richness of following our God down an uncharted path.
Last year was my first mission trip. I traveled to San Pedro Sula, Honduras. We spent a week working in an orphanage called Faith Home. On campus, we did some construction, we did some painting, and we really just hung out and loved on the kids. But off campus, we spent our days, going through the village, passing out tickets for beans and rice, and then the next day coming back and worshiping with them and giving them food for their families and really just experiencing culture with them.
I'll be traveling to Spanish Town, Jamaica with a team of 4.
I'm going to be going to China for an entire year.
This year, in a week actually, I'm getting ready to go to Jamaica.
We'll be there for 1 week over spring break, and we will be conducting vacation Bible schools for the churches down there, as well as doing some labor work for churches and some preaching, as well as just some adventuring of Jamaica.
I'm going to be teaching English to either university level students, or high school or middle school students.
It's going to be an entirely new experience, and I don't really know what to expect. But I know we're going to be doing a vocational Bible school for about 60 kids, and they're all under the age of 12, so it should be a lot of fun. Me and Emily have a lot of arts and crafts planned, so I think it's going to be a really good time. Also in May, I'm going back to Honduras and back to Faith Home, and I cannot even express how excited I am for that. I'm hoping for a new experience, but if he gives me the same experience I had last time, I will not be upset about it at all. And then in, I think the end of June 27th, yes, I am traveling to China. Hopefully I will be in mainland China and not Hong Kong, but either way, wherever God wants me to go, I will go. There I will be working at English camp, just teaching kids conversational English, building relationships, sharing the gospel. I'm not really sure what to expect from China. I have a feeling it's going to be something big. But out of all the mission trips, I always just pray that they change me more than I change, them. So
I actually don't think I considered missions as much as it was kind of laid up on me. I've never actually left the country before. This is the first time I've left the country, so I'm kind of nervous about that. But what did happen was Dylan approached me first over Thanksgiving break about a mission trip to Jamaica. That got canceled. So then he came to me again, and my wife and I talked about it and prayed about it. And God was like, it's time to leave the country and experience something new. And so I couldn't say no, because God is the boss.
I've always kind of had a desire to help people. Even in high school, I did a lot of community service, and I kind of always felt like I was supposed to go overseas. But I never put the two together to do international missions until I came to OCU. I had a friend, she was like, hey, I'm going to Honduras, you should go. And I was like, I don't know, I've been a Christian for about a week and a half. So, but it was just kind of one of the things that just happened. It wasn't really a thought process. It was kind of like, I feel like I'm supposed to do this, and I did it, and now it's become such a huge part of my life. It's kind of crazy.
What made me kind of consider this entire thing was the fact that my entire life I've been searching for purpose and identity. And it wasn't until after my first year in Hong Kong that it finally hit me that this purpose that I've been looking for the entire time was to fulfill the Great Commission, no matter where it was that God was going to take me.
Going into my first trip, and I've expressed this to several people before I went, I really just wanted to see that raw Christianity, real, raw, this awing love for God that you don't always get to see in America. Only being a Christian for a couple months at that point, I hadn't really experienced that, and I think it was something that I just kept asking God over and over to show me, and He did. Going into Honduras and coming back, I saw everything that I feel I needed to see, and then I asked God to show me. Going into these trips, I'm just hoping that, I can't even tell you how I'm feeling, because I'm not asking for that raw Christianity experience anymore, because I've had it and I've confirmed it, and I know faith like that is real. I think now I'm just hoping that these trips help me find my faith to be like that. They help me every day become more of this passionate, awing, strong-held faith person for God. And I guess that's just kind of what I'm hoping for this time.
When I first told my family about this, it didn't really go as well as one might hope.
At first, my family was fine with it. They reacted very well to me going on the mission trip. Then my dad did research on Spanish Town, Jamaica, and found out that it is the 4th highest murder per capita. Now my dad is kind of freaking out. My mom's like, oh, well.
When it comes to like family and friends, when I'm talking about my OCU family, which is probably most of you guys watching this, obviously they were so excited and so supportive and just loving and helpful in every way you can think of. When it comes to my family from Cincinnati, it was a little different. My family's not really big on the whole religion thing, and so when I told them I was going to go around the world to spread the gospel, which is something they don't necessarily believe in, there was a little bit of a lack of support. The more I go and the more my parents see my passion for it, the more accepting they are, but it's still really difficult.
It was one of those things that, because what I'm doing is a support-based position, my family kind of thought that I was wasting my time and that I was paying them to let me teach. But I took that and I tried to do things on my own after that, and a lot of times I was going behind my parents' back as I was going through the entire process of being accepted. And it wasn't until I talked with my support racing coach about this that I realized that I was being very disrespectful to my parents, and that I was trying to shut them away from a part of my life that in all reality they need to be a part of. And so after I humbled myself and apologized to them, things have been going a lot better with them. My family has been extremely supportive after I've actually sat down and talked with them instead of trying to go all on my own with them.
I was terrified. Going into my first trip, I was terrified. I have never flown before. I have never been out of the country. I've only been a Christian for a couple months, and I was supposed to go tell kids about how awesome Jesus is, and it was just, it was very overwhelming. It was very scary. But I think having so many of my good friends go with me really helped. You know, it was one of those experiences where it was a totally new experience, but I was surrounded by people I already knew and loved, and so just prayer for peace was something we really focused on. And so after the first day, it was kind of like I was somewhere where I was supposed to be the whole time. So it kind of went away.
As far as expectation goes for the trip, it's hard to say. Not really being on a mission trip. I expect, obviously, to see God at work, to see Him move, to see Him transform my ways, even my thoughts, experiencing new things in other countries. Church is usually a little different there, so I've heard. So I think for me, it's going to be a big experience for a different type of church, for something that we don't really see here in the Western culture. Also a chance to really grow and just see other cultures and realize that more people need our help than just America, and we can't just be focused on one place, but we got to be able to go throughout all the nations spreading the gospel.
I don't really expect God to do anything, but I pray that He just continues to show me what He sees, to break my heart for what breaks His. You know, any, like, I know it sounds cliche, but any, like, song lyric you can think of, but I just want to continue to help the people that God wants me to help. I want to continue to share His love with people who necessarily don't get to hear it. I want God to change me as much as He would change anyone else every time.
I'm hoping that God will just open my eyes to something that I've maybe been blinded to, living in America my whole life and never leaving the country. As far as being impacted, I think too often we go over there wanting to impact everyone else, and it's always, well, I came back and I was impacted. So I kind of don't really, I don't want to say I don't have expectations, but I'm just going over there with kind of a free mind and just going to allow God to do whatever He wants with me, whether that's me do more ministering or me being ministered to. It's really left up to God on which way He wants to direct me. So as far as my expectations goes, I've just left it up to God to do whatever He wants.
Preparation-wise, of course, there's a financial aspect of it, but honestly, that stuff kind of falls into place. That's something that I've learned ever since I started doing mission work. But I think one of the greatest things I've done preparation-wise is that I've been doing a lot of reading on the history of the church in China and what's actually been going on there. And it's one of those things that I originally signed up to go to Laos, but because of my religious studies degree, I couldn't get into the country to teach. But even from last semester, when I was taking a class on atheism, and all my major papers ended up being over communism and how it's affected China, it was even from right there that I knew I wasn't going to be going to Laos, but I was going to be going to China instead. And the more and more I learned, the more my heart grew for it, the more my heart was broken. But at the same time, there was so much hope in what was going on. And right now, you see one of the greatest evangelical awakenings in China right now. Because you've had religion cut off for so long that once it's able to creep back in, it's exploded. And it's encouraging to see and read about believers who have been persecuted, who have been killed for the gospel of Jesus Christ, who are willing to take the gospel all the way through the heart of Islam right now, knowing that there's a very, very good chance that they're going to die along the way. But at the same time, them recognizing that to live is Christ, but to die is gain. And they're willing to do whatever it takes for the gospel.
Obstacles you'll find in any mission trip is obviously money. Money. But I think something to remember when you hit that obstacle of financial stuff, God does provide. He may leave you waiting till a week before your trip, where I'm currently at, to provide the money for it, but it comes. Other obstacles are just, I really had a hard time with my family. Just getting them to accept the fact that I actually was going, that it wasn't just one of those things that I said, I'm gonna do, but never really did. And just having them accept the fact that I'm gonna continue to go. So that's an ongoing obstacle, just trying to find common ground between my family of loving me and loving my passion when it's not necessarily theirs.
Yeah, coming back from Hong Kong the first time, I just wanted to be out of here, in all honesty. I wanted to be in the world. I wanted to be back in Hong Kong and back in Asia. But as the semester's reached its midpoint, it's kind of hit me that there's a lot of people here in Oakland City, especially that I love, that I'm not going to be seeing very much anymore. I think of the family that God's given me here, and how He's used them to give me a sense of community, a sense of belonging, and show me what the body of Christ can do. And so, I guess I'm going to miss them more than anything. With my family, of course. But, it's kind of it.
I will never be the same person I was before I went to Honduras last year, ever again. When God shows you the things that we saw, and it shares the experiences with you with His people and the children and stuff like that, there's no really words to describe how impacted you are, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, in every way you think that you can be impacted and changed. God really did do it. If you talk about breaking a heart and mending it together, it's exactly what He did. The first day you see all of this just destitution and poverty and just hurt, and your heart breaks, but then you get to see those kids and that raw Christianity and that ongoing faith and the undenying love these people have for God, and it's just your heart starts to slowly come back together. And an experience like that is something you won't find anywhere else. You won't find with anyone else but God. And so, yeah.
Going into the mission trip, at first I was nervous probably the first day or two when I committed to it because of money raising and stuff. I hate asking for money. I hate to ask people for money. So I was kind of nervous at first, but then God just kept providing crazy ways that I couldn't even imagine, that I really didn't even have to ask for money. People just kept giving it anyways. And that's whenever I really knew I was meant to go. But I really didn't get extremely nervous. I really didn't have any emotion or feelings to it. That's usually my attitude towards quite a bit of things. I'm not a very emotional guy about a lot of things. So kind of what happened was, the more and more Dylan and I talk about it, the more and more things get brought to my attention and my eyes get open to the things we're going to be doing. Some excitement comes, but I think I won't really feel the full effect of it, so I'm either on the plane or actually in Jamaica, because that's just how I work.
My future. My future is something I tend to not think about a lot, just because I love that spontaneous of just, God tells me to do it, go do it kind of thing. But I see myself in the future definitely spending more and more time overseas as it goes on. I'm hoping that after I graduate in 2 years that I'll do the 11-month tour, which is 11 countries in 11 months. That would be where I see myself right now, but God does crazy things and He changes things all the time. So future-wise, I just hope to follow Him wherever He takes me and to not fight it.
Going into it, the only thing I can really say is that there's peace. There's really no way to describe it other than it's a peace that transcends everything, and that it's a peace that can only come from God, and that knowing that He's there every step of the way, that He's opening the doors, He's closing the other doors, but He's still God, and He's still leading you down that path. It's an awesome feeling. It's awe-inspiring, and there's really no better feeling than that.
I would just like to say, if you are even considering going on a mission trip, or if you even think God's pulling on you, even the tiniest bit, just go. Just experience it. Even if you know missions is not where you're going to end up for the rest of your life, it will never hurt to go and to see and to feel the things that God can show you. My heart's never been so full before after a mission trip, and I just can't wait to go back and have my heart full.
I'd like to encourage everyone. This is my first time leaving the country. I'd encourage you to pray. Maybe God's calling you out of the country sometime, maybe not. You could be called to do missions right here with your own family, with your friends, with whoever. But I know for me it was a big step. It was something that I would never thought I'd ever do. But this is an opportunity I think I clearly was meant to take by everything just falling into place financially, and with everything else that took place with my family, with the trip. It all worked out perfectly. Of course, God's timing and God's planning, so it worked out great. But I also encourage you guys just to pray for us. Just continue to pray for all missionaries. I'm not going over there to look to get martyred. That's not my goal. I'm not going to go out there and do anything dumb to get killed. But just a reminder to everyone, and a reminder to me, pray for your missionaries. Right now, 159,000 missionaries are killed every year while spreading the truth of the gospel, because they believe in it that much. They stand by the truth that comes through the Word. And I can only hope one day to have that much faith and confidence in the Word that I'm willing to go wherever God would take me or my family as a whole, and commit myself to the Word in such a way that I'd be willing to lose my life at the drop of a hat. And I think with just the confidence and the Spirit guiding us, we can all be there.
We don't really realize how powerful Jesus is. How He's the only one that can break the chains that Buddhism, atheism, communism, Hinduism, Islam have wrapped around the hearts of people around the world. And in Jesus there's freedom. But there's one thing I've learned, it's that God isn't this white middle-class businessman that we always try to think of him here in the States. But He's a God of all nations. He's a God of the Chinese, He's a God of the Americans. He's a God of the Australians. He's a God of the South Americans. He's a God of the Africans. He's the God of the Europeans. He's the God of this world, the God of this universe. And for some strange reason, He's allowed me to do His work. Try and fulfill the Great Commission that Jesus gave us. And in the end, it's about glorifying Christ and furthering His kingdom. It's not about anything that I can do, but it's what Christ can do through me. It's not an easy journey. And we have to get out of this mindset. The Christian faith is about glorifying God and building His kingdom no matter where it takes you. And that path isn't always made known. Sometimes we have to take a risk, knowing that God's protecting us. And as long as we're seeking to glorify God, we really are in His will.